Hello and welcome back to Frozen Prairie Scouting. Exciting one today. Obviously, me being a Western Canadian guy, as you see from the title, it looks like starting this year, the next five picks potentially, will be ex-WHL players. As we know, all of them are now heading out to the NCAA, especially these top picks. As they get ready for their next step in the NHL. I think it's an amazing opportunity for these players to be able to move up and play in the NCAA in their draft years. And I think it's a great thing for some of them, and then for some people, I think it's an amazing opportunity to stay in the WHL and get more minutes as well. But I wanted to take a peek at these next few players that could be hearing their names first in their draft years. So, without further ado, we have, the next four first overall picks could be WHL players or ex-WHL players as they make that move, as I said. So, let's look at this year, 2026. Gavin McKenna played 2 years in Medicine Hat, obviously with that late birth in December. And he also, in the WHL, as a lot of you would know if you follow hockey, they do get drafted at 15. So they can go up and down. I believe some of them can play up to 36 games in the WHL. And we'll see a player who just recently did that. So Gavin McKenna at 15 played 16 games in Medicine Hat. And with the CSSHL was able to live in Medicine Hat and play for Saha. So he was, I think he was practicing quite a bit there. He was a player that I think looked into exceptional status and didn't end up doing it, which isn't a bad thing. Not everybody needs to be jumping up that quickly. This is a player I'm really excited to kind of see what he does next year. I think his plan is to go to the NHL, but if he went back to Penn State, I think it would be honestly hilarious. But with those of you that are Toronto Maple Leafs fans and you are thinking on Gavin McKenna, it's not going to be right away. But I do want to point out, if you go back and look at his 16-year-old year in Medicine Hat, his second half of the year, unbelievable. I can't remember the exact points per game, but he went on a tear. And then he tore apart the WHL in his 17/16-year-old year because it was his draft -1 with that crazy stat, and then over 2 points a game in the playoffs. This is a player that, it'll take some time to figure it out. He's obviously not the strongest player, but he is going to figure it out. Just look at Penn State this year after he came back in his second half. And I think he was on track at, or even higher than Celebrini Eichel in points per game in the second half of the year. And let's all be honest, Penn State, decent team, good team, but other than Jackson Smith, who is on that elite level, I do think if you would have went to MSU or Michigan or even North Dakota, BU possibly, those places, I think he may have been in the 70 points. Just with the talent level of those other teams. But this year, I think he will be going number 1 overall. He's got the name recognition, and I think the ceiling is further above any other player in this draft. Unbelievable player. Next, as we all know from the Memorial Cup this past week, Landon DuPont, last exceptional status player here in the WHL, came in unbelievable at 60 points in 64 games as a defenseman. What this guy does is unbelievable on the blue line. Next, kind of Quinn Hughes, Zach Werenski style player. Going to be leading a team, and somebody's going to be very, very happy taking him number 1 next year. Looking like one of the Michigan schools are going to get him, and we'll hear more this year as we in the next couple of weeks, I think. So I think he's doing his visits from what I'm seeing online this week. I'm not in the know by any means. I'm just a guy that watches a decent amount of hockey. But I watched a lot of his games in the playoffs this year, and it was when he was on the ice, things were happening. And I mean, as a 16-year-old, that's crazy in the WHL, but he's been doing it since he was 15 as an exceptional status player. The numbers he put up as another underage at Edge School U18 prep is crazy. So he's been doing this for many, many years, and I think he's added some elements to his game this year as well. A little bit of feistiness. He's putting on some weight. He's hit that, according to this, 6-foot mark, which is a big deal, right? And I'm looking forward to seeing him in school this year. He's going to put on a little extra weight too in the weight room during the week. We're working on a few things. I think his defensive game, which is already pretty strong, I do really like what he does with his surfing and his ability to hold the line and use his wheels to close gaps, hold tight gaps against forwards. He's doing a lot of the right things, and he's picking up a few extra pieces in his zone. So, but a guy that moves the puck well, either with his feet or he can make a really nice pass. So, another player coming from the WHL that would likely be a first overall pick in 2027. And then, guys that a lot of people know here in Western Canada, I'm sure a lot of you now have seen a lot about him, but Maddox Schultz, underage last year in the U18 AAA in Regina, and put up 93 points in 44 games, and then 2.2 points per game in the playoffs. And then I believe he was also the MVP in the national championship as a 14-year-old, so his WHL draft year. Last year, split the season. Luckily was picked by Regina and was able to stay home, and he'll be home next year playing for them. Him and Liam Pugh are going to be a lot of fun to watch, like they were at the U17s as underages this year. And 60 points in 20 games in U18 AAA, and I think by the end of the year they played a lot of hockey with a lot of practices, a lot of games. I think he finished the year with Regina and didn't actually join the Pat Canadians until later into their playoff, and then went to the national championship as well. So he had a lot of hockey this year, and I hope he's getting a good rest. Was able to get in a couple playoff games as well with the Pats. So he's going to hit the ground running next year. It took him a bit to figure it out, and in the WHL there, I think his last 15 games or so were you really saw who Maddox Schultz was going to be in the WHL. So his 16-year-old year will be a lot of fun with him and Pugh, and then they have a lot of other guys that they picked in that draft with Schultz and Pugh. Yeah, you look at Cruz Nicolay, Charlie Leonard. There's a couple other guys there too that they grabbed. I think they had, I want to say, 3 first-round picks and a couple second-round picks, and all their players are actually very, very good players. It's going to be hard to fit them all into the lineup, but they did a good job there because obviously there's going to be a few guys that are going to take the jump to the NCAA, and I likely see Schultz and Pugh being those guys. Maybe only play their 16-year-old year and then maybe leave for college after that. So another guy I'm really looking forward to seeing a lot this year in the WHL. Next, the first overall pick that was just picked by the hosts of the Memorial Cup, Kelowna. They were able to snag Madden DuPont, a player that broke some major old records in the AHL this year as the captain of the U15 AAA team in Red Deer with 149 points in 34 games. And as a first year in U15 AAA with 93 points in 33 games. This is a guy that's got, he looks bigger out there than 5'11". Obviously, at 15, a lot of guys are still growing. This guy has a shot. He can protect the puck well, dominates games. I mean, you see he had 2 points per game in U18 AAA with Red Deer, and I believe he actually joined them for the Max tournament as well and put up some goals there. So this is a guy that has never had a problem playing up, and honestly probably just wanted to stay with his friends. And his goal was to break that record this year in the AHL. 2-time John Reed Memorial Tournament MVP in St. Albert, Alberta, which is a tournament that brings a lot of the top EHL, CSSHL, and some top American teams, and he's kind of proven himself at that level. So This is a guy I do believe is likely to be one of the first picks off the board in the 2029 draft, which is way too far away. But just for this exercise, I find it fun to look at these players and kind of see how Western Canada is really doing well at developing players. I believe that CSSHL has really helped as well. You're seeing a lot of players that, back in the day, always had to move to play as well, but with the CSSHL, they're now able to compete against other higher kids. And even when you look at the BCHL, AHL, the Saskatchewan League, and the Manitoba League, like there's always really good players that are still playing at their local teams, which you see. I want to say Red Deer, St. Albert have been really, really strong at keeping a lot of their players in their programs. But players from those other like smaller areas, and you'll see some of these guys that have joined in Edmonton. They have the NAX, the OHAs, the OHA Edmontons, the Rink Hockey Academy in Winnipeg. What I like about that development is these top players are playing against each other every single day, practicing against each other, playing against each other, and then they're going off for the weekends. But you also bring in these other teams into a lot of these bigger tournaments like the John Reed, what's that other one called here in Devon that they've hosted, but they all get to play against each other a little bit more than they used to back in the day. So that's one of the fun things about it, and you can really start to see who is the rising at these 15-year-old ages, which I still think is crazy to think that these guys back in the day had to make a decision if they were going to the WHL or the NCAA, and now they have the choice to do both, which is fantastic. And just for the fun of it, I was peeking around. I hadn't really watched a lot of U15 in the past little bit, but I thought, hey, why not? Like, let's take a look. Let's see who's one of these next guys coming. And this is usually when I start to see for next year's WHL draft who these players are. And right now, the guy that's been popping up is this Deacon Gillespie out of OHA Edmonton, playing U15 prep as a 2012 this year, defenseman, and he 48 points in 30 games. He is now second as a 13-year-old to only Landon DuPont in the CSSHL as an underage in U15 prep as a defenseman. I watched a couple clips. There's not a lot out there, and I'm not really going to get fully into it, but this guy can skate. He's a player. He's got a lot of confidence with the puck at 13 years old. So I'm only putting this out there just for the fun of it. Looking forward to maybe now putting him on my list to see how he does for his WHL draft. That's coming up next year now, being a 2012. And I guess we'll see what he does. Potentially maybe he gets into U18. I mean, with the numbers he already put up, I think he's one of those guys that should bump up a level. It'll be interesting to see what he does. Obviously from Ponoka, which is still a little bit like an hour a bit away from Edmonton. So we'll see if he ends up bumping up a level. I think that actually the Ponoka area does run into the Red Deer draw zone. So could we see him Red Deer U18 this year, or will OHA Edmonton keep him? That'll be interesting to see, but I'm looking forward to watching him next year, and I wanted to make a nice short video. My goal was to keep it under 15 minutes here, so let me know what you think. Is Western Canada bringing some of the top players, or is there other guys that maybe in your area, if you're from out Eastern Canada or the US, that I might be missing? I know Joey Cullen's one of those guys that could give a few of these guys a run for their money, but I haven't really seen a lot of other players. And I know there's always some of these guys now in the States, especially you're looking at the St. Louis, Phoenix, some of those areas where NHL players tend to stay with their kids, and then all of a sudden you see them at 16, 17, and they have those bloodlines that might bring them up. So Have a great day, and I'm looking forward to bringing you another video soon. Thank you.